Okay, so first thing is first. Select the technical pen or sketch brush of your choice. Begin to sketch in the shapes of the armor piece you want to create. Personally, I use different colors in my sketch to help myself navigate the pieces. I should also mention that dotted lines mark shapes of the armor pieces where they will be concealed. Even though they won't be visible in the final piece, it helps me create a more accurate end piece. It is also important to make sure the armor piece covers the anatomy underneath in a way that makes sense. Rounded armor for rounded arms or shoulders and flatter armor for torsos. I recommend keeping your sketch layer separate. I accidentally merged them out of habit. Once the sketch is done, it's time to block in a flat paint area. I will continue to use the technical pen to fill in the shapes and color drop them. I will also keep the layers of each piece on separate layers for now. It will be required in the coming steps, as you will see. You've likely noticed that I am already darkening the areas of armor that would appear further away or behind the rest. I recommend doing the same. Don't be afraid to use an eraser tool to clean up your edges. I use the round brush as an eraser most of the time. At this point, I would group, but not merge the layers together. This will be an important step for later. Don't forget that armor doesn't just float, so you should add something like a shoulder strap. That would be holding it on the body. Another very important step is to alpha lock your layers. Now, I would move to the wet acrylic brush, as this is the most used brush in all of my artwork. Its ability to build texture is unrivaled. You should already notice why the alpha lock step was so important. If you've ever seen my lighting and shadow posts, you should know that yellow and blue highlights are mandatory on this armor piece. If you're wondering why this is, it's because the reflected light from Raria's skin is blue, the sky is blue, and the sun is yellow. These are your main, ambient, and reflected light sources. The parts of the armor furthest away from those sources will be the parts in heavier shadow. Tapping your wet acrylic brush rather than streaking or dragging it helps to layer and build a better metallic texture. Remember, there is no shame in using the color selection tool to select your light sources for your highlights. It's an available tool, so use it. Our armor piece is beginning to take shape. Begin to sharpen up those metallic edges with some highlights that are a mix of off-white and your ambient lighting. For more dominant highlights, I will add a clipping mask to a layer and use the Add Blend mode. This can be repeated for each layer as many times as you need. Adding beaded highlights with the round brush are a stylized choice I use to give that winter wolf feel to my art. Some artists like Amaranthan Artist have practiced and used this technique since collabing with me. Remember to tap in these highlights and not drag them if you want the same beaded effect. If you're familiar with traditional painting, you would know that a roughed-up sponge can give this crazy effect to certain things. The heavy metal brush mimics this best in Procreate. Don't be afraid to sponge or tap in some rust spots. No one said armor was always flawless. We will get to adding scratches to the armor too. The light pen is amazing for adding in those very thin at the edge highlights.
You wanna talk constantly about misery and how you've been done so wrong. You wanna bend your honesty and exaggerate the distress that you've undergone. There's never a compromise. No one can say that they've ever been hurt before. They may be victimized, but you'll always say that you're a victim so much more. Used to be as innocent as you. My excuses ran out of things to complain about. Fear will always find a way to show.
At this point, you should really be seeing the separation in the layers of metal. Start edging out the individual plates. I use the round and light pen brushes to do this. Rinse and repeat the steps throughout the layers. The light pen brush can also be used for manually adding scratches to the metal. Randomly place scratches. Have fun with it. Again, repeat the process through the layers as desired. The organic sable brush can be used to add those armor scratches you'd see from buffing the metal, or using a stone grinder on the armor during its manufacturing. One takeaway you should remember from this is that just because a brush has a label or title does not mean that you need to use it just for that purpose. Experiment with your brushes and you will be surprised at what you find. Play with opacities of the overlays as well to create a more dynamic layering to your armor piece. Armor is shiny and often reflective. You can crop and copy a part of your drawing and flip it, adding it to the armor as a reflection. You can manually draw reflections too, but for the sake of time, we will crop it here. I like using color dodge blend for armor reflections and multiply and add blends for water reflection. Experiment, play around, and find which blends you prefer. Want to make a piece specific to you? Add something unique. I add wolf paws to my armor as a signature and stylistic choice.
Now I've surrounded myself in confusions. Perhaps I'm misunderstanding the conclusion. Word after word, I can feel myself slipping away, like my light escaping quiet at the end of the day. So I close my eyes and imagine, cause it's the only way to make things happen. No, I've been buried in myself now for so long that the only thing that's right feels so wrong. So I fall back into the same patterns, ashamed of myself, but I know I gotta have it. I'm knowing deep down there's a problem, but instead I'm addicted to the voices in my head, and they said, you say there's something wrong inside of me, 'cause I'm rejecting your reality. You say there's something wrong inside of me, 'cause I'm rejecting your reality. Getting harder to relate. I'm running out of patience, so I'm picking up the pace. My head's swelling up with thoughts I'm needing to replace. So I won't ask, though I'm telling you to get out of my space. I fall to the floor, I'm losing my composure. I guess it's a curse, now you're asking me for closure. It's really not hard to see. All this time it seems, no matter how hard I try, I'm no closer. So I fall back into the same patterns, ashamed of myself, but I know I gotta have it. I know it deep down there's a problem, but instead I'm addicted to the voices in my head, and they said, you say there's something wrong inside of me, 'cause I'm rejecting your reality. You say there's something wrong inside of me, 'cause I'm rejecting your reality. No, I will not accept apologies. You can take that back with all your memories. It's only made worse 'cause I predicted this before it all began, and I've become my worst enemy. No, I will not
Fun
accept
fact,
apologies.
you can
You
use
can
these
take
same
that back with
techniques
all
on
your
weapon
memories.
blades,
It's only made
swords,
worse 'cause I
axes,
predicted this
and so
before it all
on.
began, and now I wish you'd run away from. No, I will not accept apologies. You can take that back with all your memories. It's only made worse 'cause I predicted this before it all began, and I'll become my worst enemy. No, I will not accept apologies. You can take that back with all your memories. It's only made worse 'cause I predicted this before it all began, and now I wish you'd run away from. Something wrong inside of me, 'cause I'm rejecting your reality. You say there's something wrong inside of me, 'cause I'm rejecting your reality.
Earlier, I added all these layers into a group. I will now make another empty, dummy group of layers and merge the two groups together. I merge the groups together and not the layers individually to avoid the blend modes from becoming incompatible.
Lost in the dark, I hold out my hand. I can't help myself, so nobody can.
Now, I continue on, and I've minimized the layer bloat. Many of my artworks exceed 100 layers, so I make a habit of merging finished and near-finished groups in the artwork. Obviously, this is optional.
How did I get here? Why can't I leave? Left all alone, heart on my sleeve. Time stands still and it's just me.
At this point, it's just a repeatable process for each new armor additive or piece you create in the artwork. Let me know if you want to know how to create and add fur to your armor in the comments below.